Warning: this podcast may contain spoilers as well as coarse language. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello and welcome to Violet Everweekly, a weekly series on the Our Anime podcast discussing Violet Evergarden week by week. We're on episode
number 5.
Still going at it and still somehow talking about this anime. We'll see how long that lasts. In the meantime, I'm Mozilla Fennekin, and this week, back in the lineup is Kaverick.
Hi.
Hi. And our two special guests, one of them, particularly well-known user from the Our Anime Discord, CritSource.
Thank you for having me. We'll have a great time.
Absolutely, buddy. And the other, most notable for making a really great thread defending the visuals of Violet Evergarden, it's Sindri Meyer.
Hey, it's good to be here.
Yeah. I almost butchered your name. I apologize for not doing that.
It's fine.
So yeah. And almost forgot to mention, if you want to be on an episode of this podcast in the future, we still have signups available in the description, and also there will be a playlist containing all of the past episodes that we've put out so far. I thought I was supposed to add something to that. Nope. And now we can begin. Violet Evergarden, episode 5. Pretty interesting episode, in my opinion. Probably the best one of the whole series, actually. But
interesting.
But
yeah.
I don't think that's going to be a very shared opinion on here.
I know some people who also share the sentiment that it's best episode. I wouldn't say so. It's decent. I like the previous one more, the first one. But Fifth is good enough for me to not fall asleep to it. Okay, I said it.
Wow, that's a high praise.
Well, for this show, I guess that's progression, but it's still the same problem I have with the entire series. It's too inoffensive for its own good.
Yeah.
Well, you'll hear a slightly different opinion from maybe a little bit more than slightly, because I love the shit out of this show. So you may
it's good. It's good to have different opinions.
You may think I'm a little bit of a shill, but yeah, I hope we'll get along.
Now that's exactly what I need. A show versus vitriolic hate boy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm not hating the show. It's just I don't find it that great so far. We'll see where it goes. It has some good moments and some kind of dull moments for me. But yeah, fifth episode has some interesting revelations. Like, I know many people were kind of surprised or even shocked learning Violet's age in particular.
Oh no.
Yeah.
So it all makes sense. We know why there are 14 episodes of Violet Evergarden. That's because your age is 14, yeah.
Yeah, I think I had her age spoiled to me from light novel reader, but I didn't mind that too much.
It still doesn't matter. She's a traumatized child soldier.
It's still weird. If she had the same age as the princess, there was like this kind of hint that the war was lasting for like 2 years or so.
4.
4? Okay, 4. Yeah, you're a source reader. I believe you. So she was fighting successfully, like she was a legendary soldier basically. Since she was 10, which is kind of I don't know about that.
Well, you don't need super training to fire a bullet and hit a guy in the head, so that's the horror of modern warfare with rifles.
I don't know. It like in the anime, I believe it was shown that she was a master of close combat as well.
Yeah, let's just say that
scene.
she's a master of close combat, and it's depicting World War, where artillery played a big part.
Okay, I
People
think I
being
have an
blown
idea.
up
what if we start with the beginning of the episode and then we'll work our way through? Because like this, we're talking about the beginning, and then we're talking about the far end
All right, yeah, that's
of
fair
the
enough.
show,
Fair enough.
of the episode.
So the beginning of the episode, the main premise is that Violet is visiting like a royal palace. She is ghostwriting for a princess who is about to marry, I believe, a prince from another country, and that will create peace.
Yeah, there is also some kind of time skip, like several months.
Yeah. It feels like they glossed over that a little bit, but there is a time skip.
Yeah, there is a time skip, and apparently Violet has become quite a good doll.
Yeah, the guard who was escorting Violet to the mansion, to the estates, mentioned it's been a few months, I think.
No, that was Hodgins
Or was it?
providing background, and he was telling Violet that she's gotten good in the last few months. That makes her development so much worth it now, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's so much more relatable when it happens off screen.
I don't know. It kind of makes sense. She still lacks emotion, but
She
I
lacks
can
showing emotion, but she understands it now. It's clear.
No.
She
No.
understands this better.
She can show emotion, all right. Did you see that that part where she stretched her face out? That was legit.
In the smile, yeah.
She's got it down.
I'll give you that.
That was a good scene, yeah.
Yeah. My take on this is that they didn't worry too much about time continuity because the main point in my eyes for this series is about Violet learning what love is and not necessarily learning how to be an auto memories doll. And I'll explain more at a later time in this podcast. But for now, I think that's that's my idea of what's going on. And I know that the huge time skips can be a little bit off-putting, and I can't deny that it could be a flaw for some people.
Okay, so here's the counter argument. I think Violet Evergarden, as both a light novel series and as an anime series, is an episodic narrative. Like, every episode is an independent arc of the client. It's about their emotional issue and Violet helping them solve it. This is how most episodic shows go. And that's fine.
Yeah.
I would say that it does seem like the main theme of the show is indeed about Violet learning what I love you means, as we've kind of made fun of multiple times on this podcast.
Yeah.
But up to this point, it did seem like there was a lot of focus on Violet becoming an auto memoir doll. So this episode kind of, I don't know, having a time skip where all of a sudden she's kind of learned a lot more skills. It just felt a little weird, a little inconsistent with the last 4 episodes to me.
Well, like every episodic show, I wouldn't say every episodic show. There's just this disconnect between every episodic arc.
Yeah, I felt that
bit.
while watching Mushishi.
I wouldn't say I felt that strong about it.
Well, okay, so episode 3 was where it became obvious with the schoolgirl and her brother. And then it's about Iris. Now it's about this princess.
Well, that's the point of episodic series. It has some kind of disconnect between episodes.
Yeah, but we don't quite see the transition of Violet between all these customers. Like, yeah, it's fine.
Do you want
for
to
there
see her
be
on
a
the
disconnect.
train or what?
Okay, but what is the unifying theme? I want to know what love is.
The unifying theme is probably just these different stories, really, and just Violet solving them. It's kind of what I hoped the series would be, just a number of standalone series and Violet not in focus in them. Basically, that your development is like on the background, it goes on and on and on, and then there's kind of climax at the end. And that's exactly what we are getting right now. There are a bunch of stories, bunch of characters, Violet trying to solve them in her own way, and it kind of works.
I think I do have a theory. Sisterly love, then it's motherly love, now it's adolescent love.
I think you got the episode 4 and 5 the other way around, because episode 4 was with Iris and her like childhood crush,
Entire
high
family.
school crush, something like that.
No, I think it's more about her family, as in her mother, trying to show her affection for her, even if it seems messed up. It is how it is.
All right.
Yeah,
I wrote down
I don't
something
know.
like episode 1 we had, of course, the exposition episode where Violet says the epic line. Then like episode 2 was Violet discovering that people don't always say what they mean, and they don't always mean what they say, with the like gorgeous woman that comes in and Violet has to type a letter for her, and she types like uh, what she thinks the woman's true emotions are, but they're not really, and people are complicated. And then in episode 3 we get the sister and the brother. So in that episode 3 we see how the bond between family members is different from the bond between like a romantic love. Then in episode 4, I thought, well, this is my take on it, that we see Iris's childhood love. Like it's like a take on. We see what a lost love is, a lost romance, and then in episode 5 we have the this little princess who was longing for a true love, something like that. We also have a little bit of the her caretaker or her nanny, um, who also felt like a mother figure to her, especially in the ending scene. What do you think?
Yeah, those are still aspects of all that unify the theme, but the it still doesn't address the main issue I have. I'll get to it later, but right now I kind of want to address the episode itself. So first, we're given a bit of exposition on the geopolitical scene. Basically, it's two kingdoms trying to avoid another war, with the northern kingdom, which has the prince, not being content with the status quo, not being alright with the fact that they lost the war, whereas the Southern Union, which are the Drossos, won. And the entire premise is to have a political marriage that is a happy convenience for both kingdoms to publicly announce the end of the war.
Yeah.
So
It's basically an arranged marriage, yeah.
yeah, so kind of like last episode, an arranged marriage, but this time the princess wants it to happen, whereas Iris last episode was putting her foot down that she wants to be a strong, independent woman who need no man.
That's exactly what. Yep.
Yeah, something like that, yeah. And Violet was helping her to like saying the same words but better. Like the whole theme of the episode to me was that you don't need really other people to express their feelings to other people if you can write them yourself, because the princess didn't feel the emotion, like the true feelings of the prince from his letters, because they were written by the other doll. And it showcased the whole flawed nature of after dolls, basically, that they do not show genuine emotions. They just act as a proxy between uh, the person who uh mm, how to call
They
it?
act as a
R- the-
mediator. They
yeah,
act
yeah,
as a
yeah, yeah,
mediator to express
yeah, yeah,
emotion and the source of it, which is the human soul.
yeah. Basically, yeah, and it's kind of interesting because it feels like some people still are able to write. I don't know exactly what position those have in this world because there are different kinds of people who are requesting their service, from just poor people, poor masses, to high nobility.
Well, this
So
is royalty we're talking about. Like the prince and the princess are royalty. They, I mean,
yeah,
they're
royalty,
expected
even
to be able to
royalty,
write.
yeah. Um,
And the
it's interesting.
whole yeah. Go ahead,
Oh, go on,
go
go on.
ahead.
Okay. It's just interesting. What kind of position the service has, and
There's
for how long it will live, like exist.
they're seen as a high class luxury service.
And the premise of this episode was that these letters that they're writing, they're supposed to be some sort of like a ritual for marriage between two royal houses or something like that. So it has to be like
Yeah.
really formal and stuff like that.
Yeah, they were basically for the show, but the idea was that the prince and the princess wanted to uh, put up the masks and just write genuine letters to each
It was
other.
all bullshit, and I like it. I like this theme.
Even the princess mentioned that she thinks all of that is bullshit because she actually met the guy like 4 years earlier, and she knows those are not the prince's words.
Yeah, yeah, it's an interesting theme. Just for me, it really showcased the place of after service in general. That they do not necessarily show true feelings. I wonder if that will be addressed later on in the series, because it's kind of a curious topic.
What I found particularly interesting is even though Cat Leia, she's the best auto memories doll in the whole company, and she probably would not have been able to, I guess, solve the drama in this episode by herself because she doesn't really care about solving the drama. She's just the best person who can translate other people's feelings into paper, while Violet always goes in for the root cause of every drama scenario.
Anyone else, like Pirate Wench herself, would be more in like, she's there to do her job. She's there to write her letters. Violet herself says, I am going to do something that is not really something I'm supposed to do, and if it goes wrong, just know the company's not responsible. I am.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was so cool, so badass.
But why? How did Violet come to that conclusion and decided to take that action, though?
Oh.
'Cause she doesn't like to mince words.
Yeah, but again,
She's like
how did he come to? How did she come to that conclusion? Is
She
my
reads
question.
a lot of books.
So you're implying that all the development was omitted, right?
Yes.
That's why I like these. I'm a sucker for these blank slate characters so that we can use to like explore human nature and stuff like that. And Violet is like a child in her head because you can't really lie to a child and you can't really trick them by saying flowery language. They always keep asking why. Like kids always want to find like the simplest possible reason why stuff happens. And Violet's kind of like that. She saw that the princess was like in pain or anguish. Something. She even asked her caretaker, like when the first letter from the prince came back. The princess was like distressed. She ran out of the room. Violet thought she was just like embarrassed or something. But the caretaker, her nanny said like she's really not embarrassed. I don't remember the exact words, but yeah, Violet doesn't
She's
like.
not embarrassed. She's
She's
frustrated.
not an enabler. She's not an enabler.
Mm.
She doesn't put up with shit.
I like this position actually. That there is certain curiosity in Violet, which we haven't seen in like the first episodes. It shows. Also, it was seen that she was kind of close to the princess. They were spending lots of time together. And it was shown that princess is an honest girl who really tries to um, convey her feelings to the other people. And maybe that kind of had an effect on Violet as well.
Here's Violet's motivation, straight up. She says it. I want to stop your tears.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Yeah. And that has shown her growth, but we didn't see her grow.
I don't know. I don't feel like it's that big of a
Important.
deal
Yeah.
for me. It's here. I mean, if we focus too much on her gradual development, it will be just way too slow and kind of boring. Instead, with this kind of snapshots of standalone episodes, we can see her. We can still see her growth, and it's satisfying enough. We do not struggle with awkward moments when she doesn't understand people. We just see the real stories.
So, again, we're going back to the minor problem of having 2 episodes of setup that characterize Violet and her situation, and her faults as a person, and then we go into episodic narratives with Violet as a recurring character. So, it feels like a bait and switch to me. But I'm fine with either style. My problem is how they're executed. But it comes down to preference, more likely.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, I know that from light novel readers that the light novels are basically like Violet goes into situations and we see those situations from other people's eyes or something like that. I haven't read the novels, so don't quote me on that. So I guess if like
I'm almost done with the first novel. It's basically like the episodic arcs. So far, I haven't read chapter 6 and the second novel, which I'm told is different.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't feel like the episodic nature hurts the series. It kind of defines it. I've said it in like the impressions after the first episode that I would hope that the series would have such a structure. Um, yeah, we'll see where it goes, how it structures itself later on. There are still plenty of episodes. What I want you to ask though is the story itself, the relationship between a prince and a princess, the letters they exchanged, the effect it had on society. How do you feel about it in general?
Let's take over this one before I shred it.
I don't know. I like the story overall. The effect it had on society. I don't know, to be honest.
You mean society like on the whole country or the whole continent, something like that?
The reactions you saw.
Yeah, the reactions you saw of people, like when they were reading letters and stuff.
What we see, not what we speculate.
Yeah, to
I
me
guess
it
she
kind
was.
of.
Yeah. Go ahead.
To me, it kind of seemed kind of simple, like the whole story. Well, it's my kind of long-standing complaint about the series that everything is pretty much basic. But yeah, it was nice. It was nicely executed. Like I have no qualms. I do not see big flaws in this episode. In general, it was good enough. But there was nothing too exciting about it, and the story itself, there was no real twist. It was just here, showcasing that Violet has progressed as a person, that she has certain curiosity to her, and that's about it.
Well, here's my take. At first, the entire wedding and the letters, also being read out to the public and shown, was supposed to be a PR stunt to gather good publicity for the royals, for the aristocracy, to show that the people that their wife is in good hands, or something like that. Again, PR. But once the prince and princess started being real with each other and sending each personal letters, there's a reason they are personal letters and why they should not be put out in public and not written about in letters. That goes straight against the initial goal of this entire operation, which is to gather good publicity, because the marriage will happen regardless. But with them being honest with each other, cool, that's great for both of them, but the public is like, come on, be a man and just talk to her like a lady. Or it's like, imagine the other way around. Like, what the fuck is she talking about?
Well, it's romantic. Come on, it's
I think
romance.
maybe the point of having the letters... okay. I think the point is that they're... Despite the fact that the letters are being made public, they're still going to write them just to be a little more comfortable with themselves. But...
Again, but... Like, okay,
Plus, it's like reading celebrity letters.
What's that?
Yeah, but they're secrets. The entire point is for them to be hidden. That's what makes them somehow appealing.
I don't know. I didn't feel like there was a point to be.
Well, they're getting married. Everyone knows that they're getting married.
Damn
It's
it,
not
now
like
I'm having perverted thoughts.
It's like watching your
Yeah,
favorite...
it was just.
It's like watching your favorite celebrity like hit on a girl or a guy or something like that. You just see something, you know, like you see your favorite person as a normal human being instead of a blue blood, someone
Yeah,
disconnected
but
from your reality.
then you're disillusioned and disappointed with what you're supposed to be, I don't know, admiring? Yeah, admiring. And again, it just goes against the PR angle.
Yeah, I guess you could say that it goes against certain etiquette of the times, that you're supposed to be formal and something like that. But I don't know, it didn't feel that wrong for me.
It's
because
fine
it
for the
showed-
theme and the episode itself, but again, if applied in real context, this would never fly.
I don't know, it's not about it being realistic or not.
The 1850s, like the end of the 19th century, beginning of the 20th century, was a huge swing for the realism school of thought, and shit like flower language was going out of style back then. The
No, Violet is
romanticism of-
romanticist. Very, very romanticist.
Critique of romance too.
All right.
But yeah, this can go like, I don't know where we're going.
There was one more
here's-
question. Oh, go on. Okay.
Okay, so here's the emotional crux of the episode and why the princess was so hell-bent on having this precise prince. So she has her 10th birthday party and now she's now of age. And as any aristocratic noble lady, she gets to have all the suitors.
Yeah.
So she goes out, being tired of the formalities and bullshit, because this is not her birthday party. This is just a banquet to see which suitors she takes a liking to. And boom, we have Ezio, our ever-loving scoundrel who is just 10 years older than her, giving her comfort like a little sister, because he's experienced with that kind of
This
shit.
guy needs to go to jail.
It's not that bad. 10 years isn't that serious. Except when it's like this, where it's adolescence versus being a young adult. But that aside, political marriages tend to be even worse.
Socially speaking, age is no barrier. That's what Violet said in this episode.
Yeah, actually, yeah. That happened.
Sure.
The whole scene was okay to me. Again, it was kind of basic, but at the same time it was romantic enough. Especially in the eyes of little princess. Of course, she didn't see the whole scene probably correctly, and she was describing it with more romanticism than it was in reality, which is once again kind of speaks of her character.
Yeah, it's like the stereotypical Japanese full moon or moonlit flower garden encounter, something like that. The Japanese love their moonlight stories.
Yeah,
But I think it's pretty obvious that this is drawing parallels to Violet's relationship with her captain, because Violet's
Gilbert.
yeah.
Is it though?
It's like the princess is like 10 years younger than the prince, and Violet's like 10 years younger than Gilbert when he supposedly died. So
That's possible.
Well, think the graveyard scene in episode 3, I think. The dusk, graves on the river, and he's like, I hope you see Wyden from the tower. I guess that's the closest parallel we have for now.
Interesting.
But here's my issue. So she goes out of her party because she's getting courted. But she still is doing the same thing that she suffered through at her 10th birthday. So she's calling the guy because he comforted for being courted by guys.
well, he was the only one who was truthful about his feelings towards her, and he's the only one who saw her outside of her normal demeanor. He saw her when she was at her lowest point. She was crying, bawling her eyes out in the garden, frustrated, and he didn't mind that.
Again, it's supposed to be that all the suitors who were approaching her formally were probably going with Brereton speeches, with the words that you would hear many, many times. But the prince approached her with his own charisma, with his own words, with his own style, and that's probably what made her fall in love. Again, she was 10 years old. It's like, you would not expect any logic from it.
Admittedly,
I'm looking for the logistics.
go ahead, Crit.
I'm just looking for the narrative logistics here. Basically trying to connect the dots. Like, I'm very deterministic in my thinking, and I try to apply it to everything, even when it's not too suited for it. Basically cause and effect. And in the end, I do agree that it is basically a gem of her life. It's a very profound moment for her. And let's just call it adolescent love that she obsesses over him.
It's not even adolescence. She's like in pre-puberty.
Okay, prepubescent love.
Admittedly, I haven't contributed too much for this because it's not that I dislike critical thinking or anything. I just didn't exactly think about the logistics of this episode. I will admit that. I was mostly just enamored with the overall theme and the overall point. I just liked seeing how... I just thought it was kind of cool how Violet was now an actual ghostwriter, and I also liked how the princess and the prince both concluded that, fuck all these formalities. Like, let's just actually let's just cut the bullshit and talk about our feelings for real. I just liked all that. I mean, admittedly, if I do dig deeper, then like maybe sure I could point out the inconsistencies, maybe because we don't know enough about the world or the society. I can see that being a problem. I don't know. I wouldn't say it didn't bug me, but I wouldn't say it's not invalid to say that.
Yes. The aesthetic and sound design helps a lot, which I would like to talk about later once we're done with this.
Overview of the episode.
Since Yamada is the one who directed this episode.
Yeah, it was Yamada, yeah.
She storyboarded it. Other two guys directed it.
Think about that scene, her first encounter with the prince. I was a bit iffy on that too. It's like, whoa, what's happening? But I was too enamored with the visuals, like the gorgeous background art of the garden and the bluish purple backlighting and all that stuff, and the calm music stuff like that. So my sense of disbelief was shattered. But I could see it like
the presentation.
I can see why people could see that as a flaw. I can totally see
it
that.
isn't.
It isn't a flaw. No, the episode itself looks gorgeous.
Or
really great.
Well, not a flaw, but an example of like weak storytelling.
No. If everything, I would say that this episode was kind of well written to a point, but only the episodic moments in themselves, because it is meant to be very emotionally gratifying and very, I don't want to say profound, but resonant, emotionally resonant. And what's the point I'm trying to make here? Yes, the montage. The montage where they start to get real with each other and just admit their faults as people. That's where it's perfectly fine. Even if it's way too idealized, would never fly in a real context, and would never be accepted by the public as anything real, but even more scandalous exhibition of the royal blood and their arrogance. Because they're basically having a public relationship at that point.
I don't know.
Yeah. It's just a bit too much for my liking, but I do like something too gritty, even edgy. So it's just not my style, not my preference, but there's just my suspension of disbelief is just a bit broken. It gets cracked with every second line where they just confess to each other, and oh my god, the public is like, oh, you don't say that, but everything is fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Okay.
Well, we are shown the crowds of people who like clearly enjoy those heartfelt letters. And by the way, those crowds, every single one of them is like a unique individual character design. KyoAni is like the Mad Lads, the studio.
Yeah.
That's you guys. That's literally you guys. And it's fine.
Yeah. Now that I'm skipping through episodes right now, yeah, the designs are great. Even on the completely relevant characters, they still look great.
Every single character in the background has a different hairstyle, a different clothing, different eye color. God.
Yeah, it definitely varies the experience, because just today we were remembering Tsukigaki Rei, which had horrible CGI crowds, and everyone was laughing at them. And then you see anime like Violet Evergarden, which has such a glorious, gorgeous production. Just when you look at the anime, it just looks so good that you do not even care that much what it is about. Well,
Okay.
that's for me.
Here's my compliment for the visuals. I didn't mind the filters much because somebody was rather clever in using bright scenes for most of the episode.
Yeah, the episode itself was bright.
Yeah. There aren't that many filters. The only filters, like the heavy post-processing, blurring filters and all that stuff, is only reserved for the like heavy, emotionally intense scenes, like Violet's first, when when her captain bought the brooch and stuff like that. I didn't notice too many heavy effects like that in episodes 3 to 5. Plus, they were all mostly outside in sunny spring environments. That helps.
So, what do you think of the princess's character design?
I thought she was absolutely adorable. Like that first shot of like her in her bed surrounded by like all these pillows and she's adorable, dude.
Adorable or adorkable? Which
Both.
one?
Yes. Correct.
Okay, and how's Ezio?
He was okay.
Dashing.
Yeah, dashing,
Kind of,
Prince
kind of
Charming
generic
type.
dashing.
I don't
Yeah.
have any compliments or complaints about it.
Yeah.
How many parallels
probably
to
never
Disney
gonna
can
see
you
him
draw?
I have no idea.
Okay,
Same.
Sindri, go ahead. Sorry.
While we were harping or talking about the visuals, though, I wanted to point out, I think I've kind of, Sean and I have been a little bit disappointed with the background art of this show. Not that it's, like, bad, but I feel like it's just not, it's just been a lot of interior shots so far, but this episode, really fucking went all out with it in some places, and I would say this is probably the best looking episode overall. Like, I'm going to post some shit in the Discord, just some absolutely gorgeous art in this episode.
Yeah.
Well, you get to be in a castle. Nobles have to fund their status somehow.
We have
Yeah, the castle
sunsets,
looked
we have
great.
steamships sailing on the river, we have Violet staring into the sunset, we have old military bunkers disguised as houses with guns still sticking out of them. We have broken defense towers, 17th century French castles, the flower gardens, all that. The pond with the koi fish. God, it's just so beautiful. The interior of the castle. I don't think too many people have talked about this, but this show has so much CGI. I think the entire town of Leiden is made out of CGI, including the company's headquarters, because they're making all of these incredibly difficult technical perspective shots that you can't make. Like, you'll need dozens of background artists to work on a single room if just to make one little snippet of 10 seconds of Violet Evergarden, because they keep shifting perspectives all the time and they keep changing camera angles at will. I don't think it's possible with hand drawn backgrounds, and you can tell because hand drawn backgrounds, whenever the camera changes angle, backgrounds will change a little bit because a different person or the same person drew the background twice. But with CG backgrounds, no matter which way the camera turns, the background objects will always stay the same, like shapes, sizes, alignments, and all that stuff. And I think the interior of this castle was made in CG because of the hallway scene when the princess is running furiously towards her bedchamber. The background moves smoothly, and I think the rest of it is all hand drawn.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting, yeah. So what I want to ask you about is how you feel about the very final scene of the episode, where Violet encounters,
We got a
apparently
edgy antagonist.
yeah, yeah. pretty much, pretty much. And he questions your mental state, basically. How does she feel writing letters which bring people together with the same hands? Well, not same, but still, which we, with the help of which she was killing people.
It's really interesting so far. So far we haven't really seen Violet talk about the fact that she's apparently killed people. It's never even been brought into question. I do kind of wonder what's going on in her head about that. And this whole new thing with that one guy talking about this, I would be interested in it if it means that we get a little bit, maybe not more of a plot, but if we're actually getting into light novel territory.
Mm-hmm.
Probably, yeah. Because they probably have to resolve that cliffhanger in the next episode.
Sindri, what's your take? Sindri, what's your take on the final moments?
On the ending, gosh, I don't know. It's like they needed something to. They needed a cliffhanger to end the episode because this episode was wholesome to say the least, and the ending brought in some of that much needed plot development that a lot of people are looking for about Violet.
It's not plot development, it's more expanding on the backdrop.
Yes, thank
Okay.
you. That's I'm
Okay,
interested in seeing what Violet went through in her childhood, but I'm keeping my thoughts reserved for now. I just want to see what happens without speculating too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll probably see the next episode or something like that. Your childhood, your war memories and stuff. We'll see, we'll see.
Yeah, because child soldiers, and the psychology of the military is especially interesting to me. Um, child soldiers are. It's a difficult topic because the militaries these days don't modern Western military, well, not maybe Western, but professional armies these days don't enlist the child soldiers, but you see child soldiers in third world countries all the time, and yeah, it's basically indoctrination, like brainwashing, what they do to those kids, and you know. I don't know where I'm going with
I don't
this. Yeah,
feel
I'm
like
excited to see.
I,
I'm excited to
go
see
on.
how this
Huh?
show will tackle that subject.
I don't feel like the anime would get or turn to such dark tone as expanded on brainwashing. It just felt to me the whole way through, and we'll see if the story will confirm it, that
Well,
it was
she is
purely out of
brainwashed.
her own volition that she was fighting for her mayor, basically.
Regardless of how it happened, she is brainwashed. Like she ended up in the military. She didn't know anything other than the military. She was called the captain's, the major's dog. After all, like she obeyed every single one of his commands without question, and that's not really what a modern soldier would do. Modern soldiers are taught to think with their heads first and foremost,
Well, yeah.
not blindly follow orders. But when you spend your whole life with the military and just the military only, it's such a different kind of society from our civilian lives that I think it's really interesting. A lot of people are talking about how or why Violet is so emotionally
Socially
stunted.
inept.
Yeah, it's because the military has a whole different
Conditioning process.
conditioning process, societal structure and expectations. Like in the first episode, she didn't even speak if she wasn't given a command from her superior officer. That's basically how the chain of command in military works. You wait for the command from the higher above, and then you respond directly back to them words are expected to be conveyed as directly as possible and as most efficiently as possible, and there's not a lot of room for
Individual
like,
expression.
yeah, not or reading between the lines. Um, and that's how Violet grew up. She was a grunt, basically. She was the lowest level soldier. And she only received commands from the top down. She didn't have any input from the bottom up.
She was Spec Ops.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we'll see more. We will see more about that in later episodes. I guess it'll get a lot more interesting. I think I'll have a lot more to say on that.
Damn it. I have a lot to unpack here, and it even relates to my take on the show and why I'm not satisfied with it. So we go from a self-insert fantasy of a 10-year-old girl into child soldier PTSD, war is hell, and every war theme you want to insert ever in a setting which is supposed to be recovering from a 4-year war, but there's no real essence of that. Like, you can't really tell that society is trying to upstart itself again, as if a great calamity has happened over the last 4 years. A lot of deaths, a lot of suffering, renovating old regions, renovating old battlefields, destroyed houses, or even think of the World War I Eastern Front. Entire villages were razed. We see none of that. Because it's romanticist.
Nah, we'll probably get more of that later on. We will see again. I feel like there will be at least one episode dedicated entirely to Violet's past or something like that.
Well,
I think
Violet's past.
I can understand where you're coming from, because a lot of that kind of exposition is done like in the background or maybe very subtly. Because I remember the girl's brother, the redhead girl's brother, he was a soldier on the Western Front. They had a moment of like he was on guard duty, and then the Western Front broke, and then an entire village got wiped out, including his parents. So there is some exposition there, but it's I don't
That's
know.
mere acknowledgement. I want to see how it affects the present, not the past.
Me too. I'd love to see that.
Yeah, but again, this show is romanticist. It acknowledges emotion over everything, which includes realism, I want to say, and basically the lack of such elements and putting sentiment on a pedestal without any grounding, without any higher reasoning, or I know how to put it. Like you said, it lacks something. Well, that's what it lacks. Ethos.
Alright, what the fuck is ethos? Ethos is an appeal to ethics, and it is a means of convincing someone of the character and credibility of the persuader. Crit told me to put this in here if I could, and I most certainly did.
What kind of culture it's supposed to say? What life lesson are we supposed to learn? What is Violet supposed to be? What is she supposed to represent? Violet Evergarden lacks this, and it had to be established within the first episode.
It lacks...
We haven't had that since then.
It lacks an end game, basically.
That too. But
yeah.
Many episodic shows lack that anyway. But again, there's no unifying real theme. I want to know what love is. Doesn't do it for me. Like, yes, you're obsessed with your commander, but that's your backdrop. That's not overarching story.
I find that interesting because I never really thought about that, because I seem to be enjoying the journey, and I don't really care about any end game right now. but I can totally see where you're coming from.
It's not just the end game. Like, again, I don't see, for a journey to happen, you need to have some kind of goal, a point B, if you have to. It's fine to enjoy the journey, and even if you don't reach point B, which many anime don't, there's just nothing to be learned. Like, you're gratified for the moment. Great. That's great for the moment, but what about afterwards? What are you left with after you're done watching Violet Evergarden, spiritually?
Yeah,
I don't know. We still haven't seen the end of the show. I don't know.
Yeah, I do.
Exactly.
I do see what you're saying, Crit. It is like I enjoy watching this show week by week, but at the end of it, like trying to piece all the episodes. Like, I haven't really been able to think much back to the episodes in the past. I'm mainly just thinking about what happened this week, because I just don't have a whole lot to connect with. I can't really line the pieces up all that well.
Yeah, and Yorimoi is very meandering in itself, but it does so with purpose. It does so trying to show you how hard it is for adolescent girls to get into adult society and do adult things, despite ever wanting to, yet clearly showing that they're not ready, but they want to be. And if you believe in your dreams, if you believe, you will make your dreams come true. But like Sangatsu says, if you believe and work your ass off and work hard, you will accomplish your dreams. And that's what they're doing. And that's why it's taking so long to get to Antarctica. It's very meticulous and sometimes boring, but it has the energy and even throws in character chemistry, which Violet can't do because we have a protagonist who's supposed to be neutral at all times, even emotionally, because the client is supposed to show all the emotion for the current theme it's exploring and showcasing.
Yeah, I can understand it. It seems like the main question about the end of this series right now is, will Violet find out what love is? And what will she do about it?
She'll definitely find out what obsession is.
Yeah, that's true enough.
So, in the end, I am very happy that I got my edge with the last scene, but I have absolutely no confidence in this show handling anything war related, as much as I am up for that.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens when they finally get into light novel territory. I would like to see a little bit more of a darker edge to the show, see more of like the actual fallout of the war. Probably
sexual drama.
Yeah, the reason why we haven't probably is just because, like, as one of you said, the ghostwriting service is like a high class thing, so of course they're only going to be doing this for high class people. Hopefully that will change at some point. Hopefully Violet will interact with more people who are suffering a little more than just emotionally. That would be nice.
Yeah. Everybody's sick. Everybody has that relative. Of course they're fine. Those are just first world problems. You have money. It's fine.
I'm interested in seeing I'm interested in seeing how the drama between Violet and that God, I keep forgetting his name, the green-eyed antagonist, I guess we could call him right now.
Isn't he the Major's brother?
Dietfried Bougainvillea?
Yeah.
Dietfried Bougainvillea.
He is pissed off with Violet, and I think rightly so, because she murdered his men, and I'm interested in seeing what happens, where that goes.
Yeah.
Here's what happens. Rules of nature, son!
Will Violet finally learn what regret is?
I'm sorry.
With their eyes on the wall. Alive! For a while.
Yeah, this discussion is going well. So Yamada, I guess. Did you guys notice any of Yamada isms this episode?
There were no leg shots, so no.
There were some leg shots, but not the. I think a lot of people said that the characters' designs don't really allow for the hot, sexy thigh shots that Yamada usually likes to do.
Yeah, that's true enough.
And flowers everywhere. Everywhere, I mean. The castle, let me see again. The
Well, every
entranceway,
second character is named a flower, after all.
the flag of this country is a flower. It's wait, what was the name? It's called the camellia flower, and everything in this country is a camellia flower or has a camellia flower emblem or symbol on it. All the way from the soldiers' uniforms to the pathways, the hallways, the maids, the ink styluses, the wax they used for sealing the letters, the bedchamber, the curtains, everything has that camellia flower.
So it is a good aesthetic after all.
It is, yeah.
All right. Any closing statements before we leave?
I think we've covered everything, basically.
We did. We got a lot out of this. And is this our first hour-long episode? Oh, God.
Hopefully
I
it's
really
worth
love
it.
the variety, yeah.
Oh, God. Wilson.
Sorry, I cut you off.
Wilson was right. These are getting longer every week.
Sorry, I could keep going for hours. You need to stop me.
All right. Well, it was great. Great discussion, you guys.
Yeah.
Crit, Sindri, you were great guests. Cav, thank you once again for showing up in the middle of the fucking night. Yeah, this was Violet Everweekly, episode
number 5.
Tune in next week for another riveting discussion, and we'll see you later.
See ya.
See you guys.
Bye-bye.